What's going on, everybody? It is your man Cleveland Terry, and today we're going to be talking about the Mixstream PRO, probably one of the best entry-level devices for your money. Let's talk about it now. Once again, thank you guys for coming out. If you're new here, this is what we do. We talk about DJ reviews, tech tips, gig logs, anything related to DJing. That's what we're about. So if that interests you, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. Now, if you look at this device, it looks very similar to the Mixtrack Pro. In fact, it shares its DNA across the board. The jog wheels, the pads, the mixer, the crossfader, everything on here is virtually the same. The same, but grossly different. And the reason why is because Numark has chosen, instead of using Serato as their controller DJ software, they've gone in-house and grabbed a piece of tech from Denon, the Engine DJ OS, which means that this is a truly standalone system. So for anybody that's doing math, you'll know that if you're using a controller, you're going to need another piece of hardware. You're going to need a computer. You're going to need an iPad. You're going to need something that has your music on it that will allow you to play it through the controller. Now that is going to cost you more money. This being an entry-level device, and I'm going to spoiler alert the price right now, $599 for this device. And I think it's worth the $599, and we're going to discuss why. But just if you do the initial math, if you buy a typical controller, they'll range you somewhere between, for entry level, $250 to $400. Then you need a computer. That computer is going to cost you, at a minimum, $500 maybe. If you want to get something really good, maybe you're spending $1,000. If you go the iPad route, at a minimum, you're spending $300 up to $1,000. So if you just do the math, you're already exceeding the price point of this device. And that's one less thing you have to think about. Everything's built in. So from an entry-level standpoint, from a person going, I want to get into DJing and I don't know what I really want to do, I don't want to spend too much money, this device right here is perfect for you. Now let's talk a little bit about the hardware. We can talk about the software, but in reality, the software has been talked about on many videos. Mojax did a video just recently about the software. The Engine DJ software is legit. We will talk about one important feature of the software, but just the software itself, we're not going to go into too many details about. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. If you've seen my Denon Prime Go review, same concept, same situation. The only difference is the addition of lighting, and we will talk about lighting in just a few minutes. But let's talk a little bit about the hardware first. Now, as I said before, very similar to the Mixtrack Pro. The only differences are you have very large filter buttons at the top. I don't love filter buttons at the top. I'd rather have them with the EQs, but your mileage may vary. They are very good EQs. They have almost full kill from top to bottom. On the main panel right here, you do have your effects, your echo, your flanger, your delay, your phaser, and the effects paddles, which I absolutely love. You have your standard EQs, not full kill, but they do the job. You have your load points and your browse button, your gain pots right here, and then over to the right, you have your standard buttons, your cue pads, your save loop, your auto loops, your roll, your pitch bend, your tempo fader, your start, your cue, and your sync, and then your scratch modes, which are 3 modes. One mode is standard, where you can just scratch like you normally would. The second mode is a slip scratch. And then the third mode is being able to handle the jog wheel for speed, speeding up, slowing down like a typical CDJ style platter. The jog wheels are touch sensitive. When you touch them, that's when they act, and they are very responsive. The jogs are smooth. They feel good when you're using them. I have no issues with the jogs whatsoever. Now, let's drop down to this area right here, which is very unique to this device. And for a lot of people, when they first see it, like when I saw it, what is the deal with the space behind the cue points? That's weird. And then I got one in my hands, and then I realized what it was. So if you watched my Mixtrack Pro video, you'll remember I talked about the ins and outs. And the ins and outs on an entry-level controller are pretty simple at best. You do have your XLRs, which I do appreciate, and then you have your master RCA outs, which are great. The problem was there's no booth out, and I complained that I think every controller, every DJ hardware should have a booth out so you can monitor your sound. This does not have a booth out, but they did something different. So on those weird looking panels up front, underneath the cue points, they have actually built in speakers and they sound good. You have your own dedicated knob for your speaker, AKA booth. As far as sound is concerned, they sound pretty damn good. If you were in a normal party, the sound is typically projected slightly either on the side of you or in front of you. So this might be what you're hearing. Pretty loud, I gotta talk over it. Let's run into load this up. So I can hear my booth. Right now, I barely hear the speaker that's over here. These are taking up the space. So I'm free to do my mix while being able to listen right here in front of me to the booth, which is actually where you want to be as you're DJing. You're not going to have any problem using these as booth monitors. So that is great. One of the other things that I love about this is when I happen to be just making mixes or trying to go through and test out things, it's nice to be able to just have speakers built in. I'm sitting at my desk, I just turn it on, start playing. I don't have to plug it into a monitor. I don't have to worry about, oh, where are my chords? It's just all right here. So I really do appreciate that. And the ability to do mixes on the fly, this is gonna make a lot of people very, very happy. And I guess in the long run, if you absolutely needed to play music somewhere, and you just needed something to kind of play over, it might do the job in a pinch. Now, this is definitely not for a party. Don't even get it twisted. I don't want people saying, you said this is not for a party, but I'm saying if you're in a house, if you just need to play something, like you're at a cocktail party, maybe you're in the kitchen jamming, you want some music, that'll work. That'll work. As far as the low end is concerned, it's full. It's not pumping as far as, oh my God, I'm feeling the bass, but it's a very full and balanced sound. I really do appreciate the specs that went into this because they sound really, really good. Now, as far as your music is concerned, as far as getting your music in, obviously you're gonna use the Engine DJ software to transfer everything over. If you have another Engine DJ controller, for instance, I have the Denon Prime Go, you'll know that all you have to do is pop out the SD card in the Prime Go or the USB stick, plug it in, and it runs perfectly. Now, this is one of those things that really, really brings the ecosystem together because you could have one of these sitting on your desk all the time before you DJ that night, and you can get your whole list together, hear everything, don't have to worry about monitoring, and then pop out the SD card, go to the next thing, pop it in, and you're good to go. I'm a big fan of what Engine is doing right now. There are 3 inputs for media. You got your SD card, and then you have 2 USB slots, and they all can be used at the same time, but it does not erase the music that's playing on one side. So if I load a song in, it's going to keep playing even if I load a new thumb drive in. That's very, very important because you don't want the music to stop in the middle of a transfer over. There is a PC port, but that's more of a data port than anything else because at the moment, I don't believe it works with Serato, and I'm not sure if it will work with Serato or Virtual DJ, but it is there, so there may be some possibilities in the future, especially for things like a Virtual DJ. But at the moment, it's Engine DJ only. You do have headphone controls. You have your mix and your volume control. It has both the 1/4 inch and the headphone jack option. There is split Q because it's built into the software. You have a 1/4 inch microphone input. Now that's probably the weakest thing on the deck. You're probably gonna wanna go into an actual mixer. This is not gonna give you the sound you want. I run into that same issue with the Denon Prime Go, and it actually has XLR inputs, but it has no EQs for the microphone. I am hoping, praying that one day they build in the EQ for the microphone into the actual Engine DJ, because that would make my life a whole lot easier. if you're watching, you know what to do. By the way, all plastic construction. It's very, very light, easy to move around. It does require power. Now, let's talk about what I think is one of the coolest things, especially if you were in the mobile DJ field, as I am. And one of the reasons why I think this controller and the future of Engine DJ is so powerful. Behind me, I have my favorite device, the Gig Bar Move. A lot of people have said after my review, you need to try the Gig Bar with SoundSwitch. Try it with SoundSwitch, it's so amazing. Okay, so I got the Gig Bar Move. I have Engine DJ lighting baked into the software. You don't need anything else. The controls are baked in, and I have my legacy SoundSwitch box right here. I'm running it right out of the USB, and I think they've come out with new ones. I don't have those, so I don't want to talk about that. So I plugged it right in, the light kicked on immediately. It knew exactly that SoundSwitch was there, and then I have an XLR running to the Gig Bar. Now let's talk a little bit about why this is so cool. Bringing one controller with you, one controller, one box, you can control pretty much your entire party with a very minimal setup. You got your booth monitor right here, so that means you don't have to bring that extra speaker. You have your SoundSwitch here, which means you don't need to have lighting controllers and iPads and all those things. You can run directly. And if you have like the Chevy wireless XLRs, you can pop it right in there, pop one right there. I'm talking like the most minimalistic setup known to man. In SoundSwitch, and that's really easy to get to, you basically just double tap on the view and it will bring you to your SoundSwitch. If this is your first time using it, I do want to mention that you need to at least export out a SoundSwitch profile from your SoundSwitch computer. Okay, that's the first thing. Now, I don't have anything set up for the Gig Bar Move. All I did was load in the Gig Bar Move as a device. That's it. Didn't add any custom loops or auto loops or all that stuff. And because SoundSwitch has really thought about this, they went ahead and made some amazing auto loops for the Gig Bar Move. So I don't have to really do much, like at all. You plug in your USB into SoundSwitch, and then you go over here and then you just load in which profile you want to use, which project. So I have one named Numark Export on my no name USB. You just click on that, and then it says select your venue. Now, because I exported all of them, my 8 Labs, my Gig Bar, my standard setup, they're all available to me, which means I can go to any party and I don't just have to use this one. I might have a big truss and Chevy setup, moving heads, and I want to use that. It's all in here. So click on Gig Bar Move, and now everything is right here. And what I was saying before, like if you go to your static loops, all of these things were designed for the Gig Bar Move. Pars red, Derby rotate, blue, Derby laser red, like all of these things are for this guy behind me. Now, I should probably turn it on. So once I have it just plugged in, it's set to the DMX that it's supposed to be set at. All I have to do is either run a song that I know works with it, that I've programmed or auto scripted for it, or I can just run the auto loops or the static. In this case, I'm gonna put on strobes. Strobes. I wanna do only laser. Only laser. I wanna do orange. Orange. It's so simple. So simple. All white strobes. Done. I have not done anything, guys. Nothing whatsoever. The lighting is linked with the fader. So if I bring the fader down, the lighting goes off. These are staying on because that's a different effect that they got going on. But the lighting, the main lighting goes down. So I'll bring it back up and the lighting happens. One of the cool things about it is if I want to do a color override, let's say that I have just kind of static lighting around the room. So I want to do a color override for the room if we're not dancing. Well, I can just adjust that to that color. But also on here, because a lot of people are going to be a little concerned, well, how do I change where the moving heads are going? Well, that's your position overrides right here. So you have programmed in areas of where they are. So let's say, for instance, the DJ booth. And let me turn on the white so you can kind of see. Okay, so that's the DJ booth. Maybe I want it on the disco ball. You see how it's pushed itself up, aiming at the disco ball. Dance floor center, pushing at an angle, right over to the dance floor. and so on. Stage left, stage right, up, down, straight down, and then crossed over. Everything that you need to be able to run these lights, and this is what I'm talking about. Okay, you hear the sound? Blackout. Not off. So many people have been replying to that saying, you know, use the blackout as your off button. It's not off. I can still hear it. I can still see the moving heads moving. Not off. If you need to make some macro adjustments to the moving heads to where they are, well, you can go into your position tab, and then you have the current position, which is disco ball. But let's say, for instance, I want to do the center, stage center to stage center. And as you can see, stage center is all the way over here. Well, we don't necessarily want that here. So we want the stage center to be in the middle. You can also control your movements. That's an effect override. You can control your strobes. You can control the hue. You can change it to UV if you have UV options on here. As you can see, it's more blue, but there's your UV. And then if you have smoke, you can actually run that through, and then your standard white. So plenty of options. I've done nothing. Sorry, I have to turn it off. So plenty of options. I've done nothing to build in this actual routine. You got a party in a box. You got your lighting, you got your music, you got your monitor, you got everything you need. And for $5.99, it is a pretty amazing price point if you're looking to get into DJing, or if you are a DJ and you need a backup system. A couple of things that I don't love. I don't love where the filter knob is. I would have preferred it to be near the EQ. I would have liked to have a more robust mic input system. Right now we only have a single 1/4 inch. There's no XLR inputs, so that's an issue. And then also, not that it's a big deal, but the SD card doesn't sit flush. It actually dangles out a little more than I would like it. Even on the Denon Prime Go, it goes in a lot deeper than this one. So not that it matters, because you do have your PowerPoint and all of your extra accessories. So you're never gonna run into an issue where you bump it or hit it, but I would have liked for it to have been a little more flush. And the fader is good. There's still that same typical gap that like the Prime Go exhibits, where you have to kind of bring it in a little bit in order for the audio to kick in. So if you're doing any type of scratching, you just have to be aware of that when you're using it, that you have to come in a little more, because where the audio defines itself is, you know, a few millimeters deeper than say your average crossfader. The up faders are fine. They're entry level. Crossfader's decent. Everything on here is just really good. And for $5.99, I definitely recommend this product. This is one of those devices that I think a lot of people are gonna benefit from. This is your gateway drug, is what this is. All right, guys, let me know what you think about the setup. Let me know what you think about engine lighting, AKA SoundSwitch. Let me know what your thoughts are on the product. Let's talk about it. If you found what I said are useful, hit that like button. If you found what I said are really useful, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you follow me on the Instagrams and the Twitters. Guys, girls, always a pleasure. If I don't talk to you later, we'll talk soon. Peace.